of Dixie where the eagles fly, land of the brave where the bullets don't lie. We fought for our freedom with guns by our side. Red, white, and blue, our southern pride. Raise the flag high, let freedom ring from the rolling mountains to the flatlands. We sing, no one can take our rights. Our Second Amendment will defend our land with every bullet we send. We were born in the USA, land of the free, with guns in our hands. We'll forever be Southern blood runs deep through our veins. We'll stand tall for America till the end of our days. In the heart of Dixie.
Well, hello there and welcome. Good evening. Welcome to the Gun Club. I'm Sully, and I'm sorry we're starting a little bit late. Kind of a rough evening this evening. Had a couple of minor technical difficulties on the way in, and that's all on me. So I had hoped to get us started a little bit earlier, but that's okay. We'll get into it tonight. We have got some interesting things to discuss. And I know there's sort of been a recent theme of a lot of our streams recently of, oops, guess what happened now? Oops, guess what happened now? Because again, when Pam Bondi, who had been very active in the AG's office in the state of Florida during a lot of their not so gun friendly adventures, the immediate aftermath of Parkland, when she was nominated for the AG's office, there were a lot of people in the 2A space who were not very happy, and it was very legitimate. It was a well-earned skepticism she came in with. It was a well-earned, ooh boy, is that who we voted for? Well, let's see. And a few of us said, well, let me see how she does. And a lot of people are like, why did he choose this? Why? Well, things have gotten very, very interesting over there, because I've got to say, Miss Bondi has pleasantly surprised me on many, many levels. She really has. Now, I don't know if this is going to keep going on. I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing, but it seems like once a week we're sort of like singing the praises of Pam Bondi, the one who was over the institution of, excuse me, red flag laws in Florida. The one who, again, we know they were living in the shadow and the aftermath of Parkland. And unfortunately, at that point, the general constituency or the general public was living in the, we've got to do something, whether it makes sense or not. Unfortunately, that's how most firearms laws get passed. The immediate urge to do something, whether it makes any sense or not, it's an emotional upheaval because we've got to do something. Think of the children. And let's run out and do something really dumb. That's gun laws, generally. So she gets nominated. She comes in and, well, there's a little bit of a questionable start. And then he issues that executive order. Go through and come up with a list. You've got a month to do it. That list was supposed to be submitted March 9th. Then she asked for an extension to March 16th. I figured, okay, she's going to come out with it for St. Patrick's Day. We can all pop a top and celebrate. I don't think the list ever came out. Now, that being said, here we are in April, and she is taking steps, big, big steps. And she's taking these steps right along. I mean, I can't say that they're bad steps. I can't say that they're perfect, but she's doing pretty damn well. Now, the big one that we have right now is the end of the ATF's what we call zero tolerance rule. Now, that came out a couple days ago. Cash Patel announced it while he was still with the ATF, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Cash came out and announced the end of the zero tolerance rule. Now, the zero tolerance rule, very simply, didn't affect frontline consumers like us that much, but it was devastating to FFLs, federal firearm licensees. This was a Biden era policy, resulted in a number of FFLs, federal firearm licensees, being either terminated, taken away, voluntarily surrendered under investigation, which shut down numerous small firearm stores. The small, Bob and Sons, the local little town gun range, the places that, you could have stuff delivered to in a rural area and then go through your background check. Some of these have been in families, have been around for decades and decades. Yeah, but they made a clerical error. They failed to dot an I appropriately, or did not cross a T. Someone on one of their 4473s filled out, country instead of county right after city, state, county. Yeah, somebody got a zip code wrong or improperly abbreviated a state. Yeah, under the zero tolerance policy, if I lived at, Cedar Park Road Extension and somebody filled in Cedar Park Extension, yeah, that's an illegal sale. They illegally sold guns. Really? They had my driver's license, they had my ID. What if you were, a junior or the third or the fourth? Yeah, and they forgot to put that down there. Things like that, even though they had a valid driver's license, even though they had a photocopy or a picture of a valid driver's license. Yeah, that didn't cut it. Boy. They put this zero tolerance policy, very, very simply. Anything they could find to shut down a firearms dealer, a lawful dealer. Now, if they're selling firearms without background checks, I got some problems. If they're getting denied background checks and they're going through the transaction anyway, if it comes back deny and they say, I'm sorry, sir, you can't buy this, but can I run your girlfriend and sell it to you instead? Yeah, those kind of dealers, they cause some problems. But these were clerical, were paperwork errors. Transpose a number in a zip code, well, you're an illegal gun seller. They did anything they could to push that zero tolerance policy. Why? Well, a couple reasons. First of all, the more legal gun sellers they can get rid of, the harder it is for John Q. Public to purchase a firearm legally. Yes, that's right. Our ATF went after the people in business doing it legally. I wish to hell they'd go down to the corner mart in the ghetto and get Pookie and Ray Ray, who quit selling out of the back of a car. Where do you think these crime guns come from? They come from lawful, law-abiding firearms purchases, or are they coming from stuff that's stolen out of cars, sold in back rooms? Yeah, we know. But that's okay. Folks, the object of the game was never public safety. The object of the game was never stopping crime. It was stopping honest, law-abiding citizens. I mean, let's face it, the more we find out now and the more that we learn about the administration that was in charge for the last 4 years, the more this rings true. The end justified the means. Well, the Constitution says shall not be infringed. Yeah, so I'm going to go out to everybody I can who sells these things and try to run them out of business. Make it harder to buy. Doesn't say they have to be available to you. No, just says I can't stop you from having them if you can find a shop anymore. Yeah, that was number one. Now there's number two. If You go through a purchase and you pass your background check. Great, congratulations. And you buy whatever you bought. Yeah, that information is filed and kept on file at that dealership. It is not sent into the ATF. They don't have to say what you're buying when you purchase. You either get you passed, you don't, or no answer temporarily. The ATF doesn't get a list of what you purchased until they actually do a trace. Well, guess what? If Bob's Guns and More goes out of business, not trying to be careful not to use anyone's name, businesses I deal with. If Bob's Guns Emporium goes out of business, guess what? He can no longer keep those records that he's been required to keep forever. Yeah. So what does he do with all those records when his business shuts down? Hint, hint, hint. Who goes and gets a copy of all of those good records? Yeah. You see, because that file cabinet behind me, let's say it's got all kinds of good records in it that I'm required to keep. But if I'm shutting down the business, then all those legal records have to get turned over to who? Give you a hint. Multi-letter agency begins with ATF. So if they shut down a bunch of small mom and pop gun stores, they take old Uncle Phil's business away, shut him down, tell him either surrender your license or we'll put you in the federal jail. They then get all those records and all that paperwork turned over to them to go up to DC. Well, why would they want that? Well, we know it's illegal for them to create a database of who owns what. That's actually against the law. They're not allowed to. Now, NFA items, your suppressors, your SBRs, your AOWs, yeah, those, they can create that database. But they can't create a database of what Sully bought. They can't keep a database of what Mel bought, unless she bought like a suppressor or a full auto or something like that. Or yeah, they're not allowed to keep records of that pistol that Scott bought. No, not allowed to do any of that. But guess what? If all those records get turned in, how easy would it be for them to build a database? Now, there is, and under the previous ATF director, Stephen Diddlevich, he admitted they did have a database started. But he said it wasn't really a database, it was more of a file. It was a file of records, a digital electronic file, not a database. And he was taken to court over this because it is against the law. And in court, he actually argued, get this, that because it was not readily searchable, this collection of digitized, organized records wasn't readily searchable. So it's not really an illegal database. It's sort of a record file of organized digital records. Now, you want to talk about splitting hairs? Yeah, true. But how else were they going to get that list of who's got what and who bought what from who, where, when, where, and why? Yeah, because you know what? They're not allowed to have that list. But someone's got to be the custodian of all those records. And they couldn't just leave them in like banker's boxes or file boxes or store them somewhere. Oh, no, 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 no. That's what they do with the Epstein files. But when the ATF got these documents in, it's been admitted that they built this list of records. Yeah, but it's not readily searchable, so it's not a database. Yeah, that is why they ruined people's lives. And when I say people's lives, I'm talking long term. These are not a lot of them were not big, super, mega gun stores. These were mom and pops. These were, Phil and Bob's gun store. A lot of these were small level dealers, people who were dealing legally, who wanted to do it right by the law, who later ended up getting involuntary colonoscopies from the law, pushed out of business, their records seized, and because that was the best way to come up with a list. That's over. Per Cash Patel. Great. Fantastic. Big, big win. I just wish that the people, the 10 to 15,000 businesses that were affected, again, many small businesses, they weren't going after the big guys. They weren't going after the Acme Sports or, no. They were going after the little, small mom and pops because they couldn't defend themselves. You got to realize if you went after, Acme Sports and Outdoors or something like that, those folks, they've got attorneys. If you went after Bubba's Big Box Guns and More, that's got 15 locations all over the Southeast to serve your gun needs better, guess what? Those guys had enough of an attorney. But your local little town gun store, your local police supply shops kind of places, those, we could take away their business, shut them down, and we say, well, if you want to, you can appeal this, but you'll probably have to come to an administrative law court, and you'll probably need 20 to 40,000 for an attorney to appeal this. Otherwise, surrender your license now. We'll give you 48 hours to decide. Oh, I'm just going to surrender my license. I can't afford to appeal it. Okay, fine. Give us all your records. What? Yeah, if you're not renewing your license, you have to surrender all your records to us. And we know how that worked out. That was one of the most disgusting things. And I've researched this a lot. And it is so nice to see that zero tolerance policy gone. Basically, their compliance department is now going to go back to what they used to do, as in help FFLs maintain compliance, work with small retailers to help them do better. As opposed to destroying, dealers. So that is a big, big end of that fiasco. So we think that was good. Okay. Now, what else has Pam done? Has she come up with anything else that was really nice? Well, I have to go through this one here because this one is just amazing. I understand, Scott. Totally get it. You got to go to work in the real world in the morning. I understand. I try not to do them too late, but if I do them too early, well, unfortunately, everyone's not here yet, especially on my West Coast. So, now check this out. When we get into what else could Pam do to make us happier about her world, well, she just came out here with a memo for all department employees from the Office of Attorney General. It's a Second Amendment Enforcement Task Force. And I'm going to read this to you because I know the type is a little bit tiny. But at the simplest, it says, for too long, the Second Amendment, which establishes the fundamental individual right of Americans to keep and bear arms, has been treated as a second-class right. No more. It is the policy of this Department of Justice to use its full might to protect the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. Go Pam, go Pam. I'm getting excited. President Trump has made protecting the Second Amendment rights a priority for this administration. As he explained, the Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of liberty and security because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights held by Americans. Under Executive Order 14206, protecting Second Amendment rights, so to that end, President Trump has directed me to propose a plan of action designed to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. Yes, this is dated April 8th, so a couple days ago. As one element of a comprehensive plan of action that I am proposing to the President, I am hereby creating a Second Amendment task force. Go Pam, my toes are curling. This task force will continue the department's ongoing work to implement Executive Order 14206 and protect the fundamental rights secured by the Second Amendment. This task force is principally charged with developing and executing strategies to use litigation and policy to advance and protect and promote compliance with the Second Amendment. I will serve as the chair of the task force, and the Associate Attorney General will serve as the vice chair. This task force will further be comprised of representatives from my personal staff, the Office of the Deputy AG, Office of the Associate AG, Office of the Solicitor, the Civil Division, Civil Rights Division, the Criminal Division, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, the FBI, and other components and representatives that I may from time to time designate to assist in the task force labor. Yeah. She is actually coming up with a task force to protect our civil rights, our gun rights, our 2A gun rights. Now, all joking aside, wow. And so, definitely something we needed to see, we needed to hear. It came out, it's been coming out on multiple platforms over the last few days, and I'm here for it. 100%, no questions asked. I am totally on board with it. Why? Well, let's face it. We know that during the last 4 years of the whoever the hell was in charge administration, I mean, I want to call it Biden, but really, was he? We don't know. But during that whole thing, there were more rules and regulations and backdoor dirty stuff. They couldn't pass a lot of stuff in law. I mean, they passed that train wreck of the Safer Communities Act. Didn't make anyone safer. I mean, not to get all political, but tell me, did the Inflation Reduction Act fix inflation? No. And all the gun control stuff, yeah. And little by little, this administration is ripping it out by the root. And for her to come up with a task force to protect, that says a lot. It really does. Now, there's a great clip here I've got from Newsmax talking about what all is going on. And again, this covers the zero tolerance, but it gives you an idea of what all this administration is doing to, again, try to protect our rights at the end of the day.
Kash Patel, my man. Zero tolerance policy. If a firearm dealer had a single mistake, like transfer paperwork, anything, like you could forget to dot an I or cross a T, the ATF could actually deem them criminally negligent and take away their license, which is exactly what Joe Biden did. Under Biden's administration, the number of FFLs, the federal firearm licenses, went from 134,500 in 2021 when he took office down to 127,800 in 2024. Those are small businesses he destroyed. Cam Edwards, editor of Bearing Arms, and Eric Pratt, senior vice president for Gun Owners of America. Eric, you guys have been fighting this for a while. What's your reaction here?
Huge victory for Second Amendment rights, Carl. I mean, as you pointed out, the Biden administration had been weaponizing the ATF to put gun dealers out of business. And that's why GOA had filed a couple of lawsuits against the ATF on this very topic. But as bad as zero tolerance was, it was only the tip of the iceberg, because it was also a massive gun owner registration scheme. Because every time a store was closed down under Biden's zero tolerance, the 4473 forms were sent to the ATF, and those gun purchase records were then inputted into a database. And you know, Carl, the ATF has roughly 1 billion gun records. Most of those records have been digitized, which is completely illegal. The records are searchable, and GOA is urging the administration to abolish the registry so it can never be used as a gun confiscation list. So that's the next step, abolish it. But for today, this is
Sorry about that now. Yeah, I want to bring that up because of the number of dealers that were destroyed just to get their records. And the whole concept of the searchable database, they've admitted it's there. It's not like it's some great conspiracy theory. So yeah, they torched that one out. And you know, let's see what happens next. Pam Bondi making the case statement that the Second Amendment is a constitutional right. Yeah, the fact that they're coming up and saying we're going to put together, a task force to protect it. I wonder how this is going to work out. I see a lot of good coming down the pike from this. I really, really do. And from that standpoint, again, very nice. Additionally, Pam Bondi has come out saying that she is initiating a comprehensive review through the ATF of certain Biden era rules. All the pistol brace rules that have been going back and forth over the last 4 years. Yeah, they're going to look at that again. Yes. And next one, the big one, the engaged in the business rule. Remember, we talked about the engaged in the business rule. How many firearms do you have to sell a year to actually be required to have an FFL? What's the number? Is it one? Is it one a month? One a week? One a year? No one knows. Why? Well, because they came up with various criteria. Suppose I sell a gun that I've never taken to the range and shot. I bought the gun, was feeling rich, suddenly had car breakdown or financial difficulties of whatever kind, and I decided to quickly sell this gun, get some cash out of it. I sold it to my buddy. I got almost the same thing I paid for it. I actually lost $50 on the deal or $25 on the deal. But hey, sold it to him. Cool deal. Well, I bought that gun last week and I sold it this week. And yeah, that's a quick turnaround. I didn't have it at least 30 days. Maybe I'm a gun dealer. Maybe the ATFs can raid my house now because I'm an illegal gun dealer. Yeah, that's kind of what happened to Mr. Brian Malinowski. They decided he bought and sold too many guns. He was an active collector. He was an active gun buyer and seller. Yeah. Was he selling dirty? I don't know. Did one or two of his guns show up at crime scenes? Yes. But if I sell a gun to you and it gets stolen out of your car and used at a crime scene, and I've already yelled at you for leaving the damn gun in your car overnight, but that gun gets traced back. The FFL says, oh yeah, Mike Sullivan bought that from so-and-so sporting goods. And they come to me and they say, well, this gun you bought ended up at this crime scene. And I said, honestly, I sold that gun when I needed to fix the transmission on my car or when I needed to, get something else done or when I needed to pay a bill or, whatever. Well, you sold that awful quick. How many guns do you sell a year? And you start getting investigated by the ATF because you could be engaged in the business. And it was what they determined. There was never a rule. There was never, if you do X, then Y. If we think you're doing X, then we'll say you are. that engaged in the business rule was another thing that when it was written by the ATF, instead of creating a very simple rule of you can do this up to this point, it was another version of speed limit. Not too fast, not too slow. Well, what does that translate into? Numbers on my dashboard. Oh, it's okay. You just do whatever you want. We'll let you know if you broke the law. But if we say you did, then you did. I mean, come on with the ATF. So they're looking at that, engaged in the business rule. They're looking at the braces rule. These are all big, big wins for us and the 2A, because guess what? These are things that, I hate crazy, restrictive, over-the-top gun laws as much as any 2A patriot. But you know what I hate the most? When they write a law that is so gray and so open to subjective interpretation that you cannot decide whether you did it right or wrong. They have to decide. You just do whatever you're going to do. Live your life. We'll let you know when you committed a felony. But if I don't know what the laws are, how can I stay in? Well, maybe you just need to get rid of all your guns. That's the best way to do it. What? Maybe you need to never sell to a friend. If you never sell to a friend, you never sell anything, well, then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, but selling individuals is perfectly legit. Well, maybe. We'll let you know if it is or not. Yeah, they wrote laws to make good, law-abiding citizens into felons. There's not enough felons out there, not enough bad guys out there for the ATF. They had to turn American citizens and American FFLs into criminals. Yeah. Talk about quashing the Second Amendment. So they're going after that. What else? Well, she hasn't said it yet, and I've mentioned it before. In the aftermath of the Vanderstock decision, we need to do something about the frames and receivers. Again, that was another rule. The ATF has proven that over the past 4 years, they can just take the eraser out and say, okay, let me see here. We know what the rule was. Let me erase a little bit of it here and change that. And okay, that's what the rule is now. And we're going to go start arresting people on it. Yeah, they've been doing this with the braces stuff, with the frames and receivers rule, with, again, the zero tolerance for dealers. Yeah. All of this stuff is getting ripped out by the roots. I'd love to see them go after the frames and receivers rule. And I would love to see, again, a lot more protection for, John Q. gun owner. And that is what Pam Bondi is doing. And I am all the way here for it because this is ridiculous when you are watching this happen to American citizens. Now, what do you think the anti-gun bunch is doing over this? Do you think they're happy about this? Do you think they're on board with these wonderful things? With all this protecting of civil rights. We look now, Harmeet Dillon is now in the Office of Civil Rights, helping Pam Bondi. If you're not familiar with Harmeet, she is an amazing, amazing lady, absolutely brilliant. She's going to be in there. Yeah, we're going to see a lot of good, in my opinion, come out of this. Because what's happening? They are finally putting the kibosh on some of these BS regulations that we've had to deal with. Now, on the other side, I know 2 people sent it to me today. One of them is not here right now. There was the note that Kash Patel is out at the ATF. I know that. I've heard it. We don't know particularly why. However, we do know that he's been replaced by a gentleman by the name of Daniel Driscoll. Now, I don't know anything about Dan Driscoll. Now, some of the anti-gun groups and some of the commie mommies have made a big deal about Kash Patel has been ripped out of the ATF. Yeah. he was only an acting interim director to begin with, so we really don't know too much about Cash or as far as why he's gone or what's going on with that. What we do know is this new guy named Dan is in charge now. And no, unfortunately, not the Dan that we'd all like to have in charge. I'd be happy to let Bongino take a swing with it, but okay. This is Dan Driscoll. And this is an article through the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Yeah. President Trump's decision to appoint acting director Driscoll is indicative of his resolve to bring reform to the ATF, protect the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens that makes it possible to exercise those rights. NSSF is deeply appreciative of Director Kash Patel's service to lead the ATF as acting director for 2 months in his interim role and recognition, along with the U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, that the ATF was weaponized by the previous administration to carry out radical gun control agenda. The firearm industry is confident that President Donald Trump's appointment of acting director Driscoll to lead the ATF will return the Bureau to its proper role as a law enforcement agency laser focused on combating violent crime and illegal firearms trafficking, and to act as a nonpartisan regulator of the firearms industry. Their confident acting director Driscoll will view the members of the firearm industry, including licensed retailers, as ATF's partners on the front lines of keeping firearms out of the wrong hands, combating illegal firearms trafficking, and preventing violent crime. So, this is the article. He's been named. He's going in. I don't know anything about the guy. I'd love to have his bio. I'm going to be researching him. Yeah. National Shooting Sports Foundation has come out and congratulated him on the new position. Maybe he'll be great. Maybe he'll be awful. That remains to be seen. What doesn't remain to be seen is that his boss, Attorney General Madam Pam Bondi, over the DOJ, has taken amazing, amazing steps thus far. And again, despite the fact that, yes, we were skeptical, and rightfully so, when she came in, we've got to sit back and give her a big, big round of applause. Now, if you're a member of GOA, or if you're on the Twix page, the Twitter page, or whatever else for GOA or FPC or any of these wonderful organizations, and you see the announcements come out, especially the ones where she is tagged and they're celebrating this, jump on that, like that tweet, repost it, throw in a comment. Yes, thank you, Madam AG. This is what I voted for. Because I promise you, the anti-gunners are already writing their press releases, and yes, they are actually sending out to all their members what they need to tweet to protest all of this stuff. We know that the other side is relentless. We know that our rights are something that they wake up in the morning wanting to trample on. You know, you got mamas demanding erections, moms demand action. We know they wake up and want to. So guess what? We need to go out there. It's like Giffords.org. You know, the Trump administration makes a big step to open up restore illegal firearm dealers. Look, if they were selling guns illegally, truthfully, like at the back door or without background checks or stuff like that, they'd have been charged with crimes, or should have been. They didn't just surrender their FFL. If somebody dealt, 4 or 5 illegal guns a week out the back door, I promise you, they're not the ones getting their license back. But it's already come out and been said, especially Giffords.org, has been telling their people, you need to tweet this, you need to tweet that. Yeah. Well, let's us tweet things or Twix things or X things or whatever we're going to call it. Let's go out there every time we get one of these wins, whether we do it on GOA's page or FPC's or SAF, any of them, celebrate it. Because you know what? That little dopamine hit of likes, when they realize, wow, every time I do something positive, I get all this applause in the background. Yeah, That's what keeps this going. Because again, they know that there's a man up the street at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who they work for. And when he says, well, look, are you making me look good? Or are you making me look bad? And they say, look at all the positive stuff we're getting all over Facebook or Twitch or Twitter or whatever. Yeah. Wow. All that. Everyone's cheering you on. You're doing great. You're going to help me, or help JD get elected or help him get reelected. But yeah, watch this. Let's support this. Let's thank Pam Bondi, Madam AG. Let's thank Kash Patel, ATF Director. Let's get this going and show them the positive feedback. Let them hear our applause. Let them wake up in the morning to hear our applause and let them go to bed with it echoing in their ears in the evening. Because, folks, that is the number one way we're going to protect our rights. Again, appreciate y'all coming out. I'm going to do some more research on this Daniel Driscoll. I know he's Secretary of the Army. Don't know any more really about him than that. And beyond that, as we go through, hopefully he comes up with wonderful decisions and wonderful opinions, and he keeps this going. And hopefully Madam AG Pam Bondi keeps this going. Because, on one side, there's a lot that we've asked for, and a lot of things we'd love to see fixed. On the other thing, we're about, 2.5 months in right now? Not even 3 months in yet? And we're seeing steps like this to protect our rights. The willingness to look at states to protect our rights. Yeah. It'll be kind of interesting when the Federal Department of Civil Rights comes out and tells California that shall not be infringed actually means something. Or when Jersey gets a call and they said, you have heard of the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution, right? Or maybe when Tish James up in New York gets that memo from Pam Bondi. Yeah, Miss Tish, need to look at all this federal stuff here. Because I see that coming down the pike, and it's going to be great for us. We have to support these people. We have to let them know, yes, these are the droids you were looking for. And on the other side of that coin, when we hear all that craziness come out about President Trump is going to put guns back in the hands of abusers. Oh, the President's Department of Justice is opening us, giving permits to rogue gun dealers. Really? That doesn't make sense. Read the article, take a look at it, realize what BS it is, and then whatever agency put it out there, send them a little Twitter on their tricks and say,
go fuck yourself.
I mean, it seems to be simple enough. But, alrighty, well, that's what I have for tonight. Folks, I appreciate y'all coming out. Please be smart, be safe. We're going to go ahead and sign out. I think we'll close this one out with the Trump song. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for coming by. I'll be back probably either later in the week or sometimes next week. I'm waiting to see what happens. These ATF Bondi have been just drinking from a fire hose. Good night, all.
I've been down, counting out, smiling through the taste of blood in my own mouth. I got bruises and broken bones, but they don't know I ain't in this ring alone. I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. I was born to be a do-or-dyer, a make-it-righter. Don't throw that towel just yet. Don't cash in that last bet, 'cause I hit harder when I'm tired. I'm a fighter. I get back up, that's what I do. I didn't soldier on this far just to lose. shot. Is that all you got? I'm a fighter. No one can say that I'm a running hider. I was born to be a do or diner. I'll make it right.